Love, exciting and new.
Hello, Hannah Waddingham here. Have you seen the fabulous new Sun Princess? World-class entertainment, exceptional dining, and the greatest pizza ever.
It's a love.
Don't miss our Come Aboard sale with up to 40% off and free room upgrades. Visit princess.com or call your travel advisor to book. Princess Cruises. Terms and restrictions apply. Offer ends 2/28/25. Ships of Bermudan and British Registry.
This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and Sunbury Motor Company. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
This half hour brought to you by Purdy Insurance. Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, life, business, boat, motorcycle, RV. Multitude of insurance needs. I named some of them, and I probably named in there for you some of them that fit your needs. You need somebody that's going to keep it organized, make sure you're fully insured, and allowing you to do a great job of saving money. Because Purdy Insurance is about customer service. They're the best. Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. All right, so heading into the weekend, so let's get into the scheduling part of it. Now, things have changed a little bit, in Big Ten scheduling, because I remember the complaint a couple of years ago I had was Penn State had one Saturday home game. Iowa had one Saturday home game. Illinois had none. Michigan State had 6. What? Michigan State at 6? Yeah. Now, you'll get 10 home games in the Big Ten. 60% of your home games are not only on the weekend, but they're home on Saturday? Really? Shouldn't you have 5 weekend games and 5 weeknight games? I don't know. But you get 6 on a Saturday? Not only that, it's the flagship of the fleet, Michigan State. Penn State will play its first Saturday home game in the Big Ten tomorrow. 2 o'clock Washington. We're on beginning at 1:30. And that's just wrong. Penn State played at UCLA last Saturday. For UCLA, that was their first Saturday home game of the season. Period. What are we doing here? I don't get what we're doing here. No, it was also an afternoon game. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. No, it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. There was 4 o'clock in the east. And they didn't know what kind of crowd they were going to get because, A, they hadn't had any Saturday games to that point. B, it was a really nice day out there. It was in the low 60s, sunny, not a cloud in the sky, unlike the way it is today with the awful. Because when we got there, it was pouring, and the Pacific Coast Highway was closed because of mudslides when we got there because it was raining. Then they reopened it to local traffic only. Now it's back to being closed again because of mudslides. And they ended up getting over 9,000 people, and the place seats about 11. I like Pauley Pavilion. I like it a lot. It was, is it bells, whistles? No. It's just a really nice basketball arena, and the concourse is like walking through a museum, a Hall of Fame. It's really, really cool. But that was their first Saturday home game. When Penn State played UCLA. It was Penn State's first weekend game in a month. The last time they played a weekend game, like weekend, Saturday, Sunday, was January 12th with Oregon in the Jordan Center on Sunday. How in college basketball do you go through a month and never play a weekend game? Explain that to me. College sports are in basketball you have to play in the middle of the week. There's no getting around it. So let's take the obvious off the table here. But how do you do that? And if you're wondering about how many Saturday home games Michigan State has this year, in the Big Ten, it's 2. If you're wondering about Indiana, they have 2. Talk about Saturday home games. They have 2. Michigan State has 2. Penn State will end up with 2 because they've got the Maryland game coming up as well. But I've said this once. I've said it several times. Penn State should get, out of the 10 Big Ten games, and there are accommodations made to Penn State, making sure they've got that Palestra game, which is a home game, making sure that they have Thon weekend where they have to be on the road, and that will be Minnesota next week. Okay, so there are accommodations that have to be made to do that. But of the 10 home games that they have in the conference, 3 of them should be on Saturdays because it's the best draw for Penn State. And I know it's only pennies on the dollar, but basketball is a revenue-sharing sport. There are 2 revenue-sharing sports. There are football and men's basketball. Okay. Now, it's pennies compared. Now football, Penn State actually has to pay in. Did you know that? On the revenue share for football, Penn State loses money. But this is... I'll give you I realize the Big Ten, when you have TV contracts, and I understand this part, Fox Sports 1 has X amount allotted to it. Peacock has X amount allotted to it. Fox has X amount allotted to it. CBS has X amount allotted to it. And then the filler is BTN. And look, and BTN it's a national network, the whole deal. But look, it's a filler. Okay? Just like the SEC network is a filler for the SEC, just like the ACC network is a filler for the ACC, the BTN fills in all the gaps that the other networks don't take. And the other networks are all paying more money to do all this stuff. So I realize that you have to have a game on Friday night because it fulfills a contract. You have to have the game on Sunday with CBS because it fulfills a contract. You have to have a game on Fox on the weekend that fulfills a contract. You have to have a game on Peacock. Usually those are in the middle of the week. Every once in a while it's a weekend, but Peacock has X amount they have to get. So I understand that. So you're trying to fill out a TV schedule. But here's where I have an issue with the Big Ten. And that is how they've scheduled Saturdays. And I don't just mean Penn State. I'm talking about in general. And I'll give you one. The most egregious one. And that is, what was the Saturday before the AFC and NFC championship games. Now, there's no NFL being played on that Saturday. None. How many Big Ten games were there that day, Todd? 2. You scheduled 2 games on Saturday, January 25th? How about 5 games? I mean, there's no NFL. Fill the day up. What are you against? What are you up against? The Sony Hawaiian Open? What is it? I don't get it. You should have 5 basketball games from noon to 1 o'clock in the morning. You've got 4 West Coast teams. You can fill the late time slot. It's easy to fill the early and mid time slots. They had 2 games on Saturday the 25th? Really? Saturday the 18th. I realize there are NFL playoff games, but remember, the NFL playoff games ended up starting at 4:30 in the afternoon. They had 2. Saturday the 11th. You know how many the Big Ten had on that side? 2. 2? That's it. Both in the Midwest, in Champaign and in Iowa City. I mean, this is all into the category you've got to be kidding me. Now, at least on February 1st, the off week for football in the NFL, they had 4. This past Saturday on the 8th, they had 6, including Penn State, UCLA. And then tomorrow it should be a full day. 1, 2, 3. There's 4 tomorrow. But that kind of scheduling is absurd to me. It's absurd. I don't get it. I don't know. I'm over here trying to promote the sport. Like, TV should be the vehicle to promote it above all. Turn these days, like, you know, I know you got to work around the NFL playoffs. That part I do understand. You had like 3 weekends in a row, 3 Saturdays in a row, where a total of 6 Big Ten basketball games were played. Come on, Saturdays is for college sports. That's ridiculous.
Could we hope this is just the function of figuring out a schedule for such a big conference for the first time?
Fair question. And one worthy of seeing how it plays out next year. But I think it's a fair question.
I guess, I mean, I got to figure they were more concerned about the football schedule and getting that done before they got into the basketball schedule.
Yeah. I mean, I've noticed the last 2 years, after getting out the Big Ten basketball schedule normally in August, I mean, you always knew in the spring who you were playing home and away, just not what order it was in. And they've been putting it out in August. The last 2 years, it's been about September 17th through the 19th. It's awfully late in the game to figure out order. And I know it's because of TV. And you're right, there's so many TV games. Like Penn State, Wisconsin's on Peacock. USC, UCLA is either on Fox or Fox Sports 1. Northwestern Maryland's on Peacock, and Ohio State's in Indiana. That's on CBS. That's the last week of the season. Right? Tomorrow, Penn State, Washington's at BTN. Wisconsin, Purdue, CBS. USC home with Minnesota, BTN. Fox has Michigan State, Illinois. So, I mean, there's a lot of TV mouths to feed. Sunday, there's 1 CBS game, 1 BTN game, and 2 Fox Sports 1 games.
I mean, because what you're saying is exactly what ESPN has done every Saturday with the SEC. I mean, there's been a noon and a 2 o'clock SEC game every Saturday on ESPN all January, and then whichever one is the best one is usually their.
Except tomorrow, this part I don't get. I don't understand why Alabama and Auburn's a 4 o'clock game tomorrow.
That is an odd one.
That's the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country. You couldn't have shifted that. You couldn't have shifted that game to 8 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw this last week, but did you see they switched everybody's schedule around so they could get the Lakers play the Lakers game, and then Luka didn't play?
I know. I was in Los Angeles when all this was going down. In fact, Pat Flannery and the gang went to see Luka's debut on Monday night. They went over to see it. One of the guys that works at Penn State used to work in the NBA. I think he actually did work at one point with the Utah Jazz. He knows people with the Jazz. That's where they got the tickets from the Jazz people. Yeah. But that is, you got number 1 against number 2 tomorrow, and they're playing that game at 4 o'clock. And the ESPN doesn't have a 6 o'clock game. Their night game, which I'm sure is going to be their quote sonic blockbuster game, is Kentucky at Texas. You got number 1 and number 2 playing each other at Coleman at 4 o'clock tomorrow. And your game of the week is going to be 17-7 Kentucky, which is very good. Texas is 15-10. Really? Okay, 4-8 in the SEC. Really? Yikes. Thank goodness South Carolina and LSU are so bad, as is Oklahoma. They're the only ones below Texas. Kentucky's middle of the pack.
I'm not sure I realized Oklahoma hit the skids that bad. Weren't they undefeated? Weren't they like 12 or 13-0?
No, they're 16-8 now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they have a perfect non-conference record. They are 13-0 in the non-con. They're 3-8 in the SEC. Wow.
Sounds like the strength of schedule might have picked up a little bit.
You think? Yikes. But like 1 against 2, I mean, Penn State's game's at 2 o'clock. My ability to get home and watch this game will be, I have no problem. It's a game I'm anxious to see. The wide open offense of Alabama, which averages 91 points a game, they get about 78, 79 possessions a game. And they're going to take on Auburn, which is one of the really good defensive teams in the country, giving up just 68 points a game. Not bad. And Alabama's won 7 in a row. Should be interesting. I would love to. That should be the primetime game. But that's I'm sure this game was scheduled in September for that time frame. It's not like college football where you don't usually get shifted around. Usually it's like the last weekend of the season is the flex weekend. You don't usually do that. But, man, they had to be sitting there looking at this game for about the last 2 or 3 weeks saying, I don't know. They're going to play this thing at 4 in the afternoon. I don't know. Hey, maybe we'll get a great audience at 4. I don't know.
I mean, I think football's primed to prove in its noon or prime time, hasn't it?
Yeah. Seriously, because CBS had the 3:30 SEC game for years, which was great. Now the 3:30 game on CBS with the Big Ten does well, but I don't think it's in the same realm as the SEC game. And now the SEC game of the week is not the 3:30 game; it's the 7:30 game. That's where you'll find Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit and Holly Rowe. So it's interesting times, very interesting times. But I'm sure, again, that game was probably scheduled in September. They don't usually move college basketball games, but they did do so. The other thing they did with the Luka game on Monday night, Houston was playing. Oh, jeez. I want to say Kansas State. I might be wrong about that. It was a pretty good game. And we will now shift the game over to ESPN News to show the Luka Doncic debut. Well, that went over like a lead balloon. It's like, okay. What was it? Let me see. Monday night. Who did Houston play? Baylor. Houston's playing Baylor. That was a pretty good game. And Houston ended up winning by 11. But it's a good game. It's close, the whole thing. And I'm watching the game. And all of a sudden, I went out and I went downstairs to the M Den to grab something to drink and bring it back upstairs. And I came back upstairs and where's the game? And I'm like flipping around, and it's on ESPNU. I'm like, why is this game on ESPNU? What the heck happened here? We have to show the Luka Doncic debut. I'm like going, it's just another regular season game in the NBA. Meaningless.
But it was the Lakers.
Again, what's my point?
No, I know.
Yeah. Wow. So, yep, there you are. That's where we are. Again, this is a situation where, well, that's one where ESPN did we're going to suck up to the NBA and carry that game. It's just another NBA game. You already had a game scheduled. Play it. But it was so important that we see Luka's first basket. Well, okay, that was great. By the way, Travis Hunter's working out at the Combine. He is working out as a defensive back. At least that's what he's listed as. Doesn't mean where he's going to end up playing. I think a lot of people want to see what his 40 time is just for fun.
Is he doing the full workout, I wonder?
I don't know. My guess is he'll run.
Yeah.
My guess is, again, I don't know if he's banged up or not.
Sometimes they'd like to wait and run that on their home track if they're stars.
Yeah. Yeah, the Penn State times here, but I've been there for the workouts. Penn State times are usually pretty good over here. So
they need you to get to do the Rich Eisen thing where you do the 40 every year.
Look, they don't have enough time for that. There's not enough time built in for that.
Get the Steve Jones Memorial sundial out.
Oh, God.
Maybe not memorial.
I'm trying to avoid the memorial part, if you don't mind. Doug Birdsong says he's been blessed to call a lot of Bucknell in-season tournament games in some great locations. Too funny about the places you've called them in. However, the suit has us both beat because he normally calls these shit Christmas tournament games in Troy. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can get to a different state in like 5 minutes, so you can. There's that part of it.
Yeah. Oh, the Schick Holiday Tournament in Troy. Ay. All right. Half hour brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street and Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage. Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
If you're turning 65 or retiring soon, it's time to consider your Medicare options. Geisinger Gold Medicare Advantage plans start at $0 per month, with access to more than 30,000 doctors and 180 hospitals across Pennsylvania. Plus, plan options that may include dental care, eyewear, and hearing benefits. If it's time for Medicare, learn about the many benefits of Geisinger Gold.
Geisinger Gold are HMO, PPO, and HMO D-SNP plans with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in Geisinger Gold depends on contract renewal.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak high. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Every morning, we rise and shine, make breakfast, and brush away the night's rest. These routines help us start the day off right. Nature-Made vitamins are a simple step in that daily care regimen. Multivitamins with daily essentials, clinically studied probiotics for gut health support, magnesium to help relax the body. Nature-Made is made to care for you every day. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest. The last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying. Just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
Oh, by the way, Ivan's no longer on the project. His wife got a new job, so they're moving across the country.
Robin's top researcher is deviating to a new market. This isn't standard.
And now we're short-staffed. Who's going to finish all these projects?
She needs a cluster of new data analysts, and there's no margin for error.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Birdie Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now, from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
All right, and this half hour brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Stock up for the weekend now. In fact, do it today. The weather's moving in. So stock up today. Imports, domestics, microbrews, best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, lots and lots of snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and out every day. 6 great flavors of slushies, ready-to-drink cocktails now. High Noon, Crown Royal, Jack Daniels. And the Pickle Bar, led by the Barrels and the Dills, my 2 personal favorites. Indeed, second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Katie Schumacher-Colley rang the bell this week. This battle with cancer, she's been incredible. Her husband, Mike's been incredible. And she rang the bell. Not only that, she also had her contract extended to the 2030 season. Penn State won the national championship in December. In a phenomenal year, all the way through. Penn State wrestling tonight. It's on BTN. They wrestle Ohio State. Penn State has been going through the schedule the same way Sherman went through Atlanta. which makes it an average Penn State wrestling year. Hard work, dedication, the ability to make it fun, it just pays off over and over again. And Penn State has Ohio State tonight, and that is on BTN. Penn State men's ice hockey's home. They've got Notre Dame tonight and tomorrow. Drop the puck at 7 tonight, drop the puck at 5 tomorrow. And, of course, Penn State men's basketball. The Pink Zone game, by the way, Lady Line basketball Pink Zone game is Sunday. Okay. As the battle against breast cancer continues, and the Pink Zone game is Sunday for the Lady Lions. Men's basketball tomorrow. Tomorrow. 2 o'clock, Washington in the Jordan Center. It is the Thon game tomorrow. In a new era, adjustments had to be made. Jen Cohen is the athletic director at USC. She was asked about the continuation of the Notre Dame series. And she gave a vague answer. Oh, by the way, before I get to that, you know they had the big parade today in Philly?
Yes.
And just to let you know, it has a true Philadelphia flavor to it. Somebody threw a beer can and hit Howie Roseman in the forehead.
I saw the picture of the mark on his forehead.
It's like, well, what are we doing here?
I'm guessing it's somebody that got their seat at 5 a.m. and has been drinking since then.
Yeah, you think? He threw a beer can at the general manager and hit him in the forehead. That's one of two things. Either that's one of the ultimate whoops moments or like, ha-ha. You know, it's like, what are you doing?
No truth to the rumor Howie's going to sign him for the backup quarterback because he was so accurate.
Maybe no truth to the rumor he's going to become the GM of the Chargers.
Yeah.
Just get out of there. What the heck? It's like, come on. Like, you win the Super Bowl and they're throwing stuff at you. Really? Threw a beer can at him. You just won the Super Bowl. Can't you keep the beer can in your hand? We don't have a bad rep. Yeah, you might. You just might. You don't have some people out there helping you. How about that? Okay, so Notre Dame USC series. It is scheduled to run out after 26, I believe. Okay. And Jen Cohen was talking about what's going to happen with this thing. I mean, she was asked directly about it. She talked with Antonio Morales, who's the USC beat writer for The Athletic. And her answer was interesting. The question was as follows. Lincoln, meaning Lincoln Riley, has talked a lot about future non-conference scheduling. Everyone wants to know about the Notre Dame series. What's the outlook for that rivalry? Her answer: it's such an important series to our fans of both universities. I've said this before and I'll say it again. In an ideal world, interesting start, right? In an ideal world, we're going to keep playing each other. With that being said, the landscape has changed dramatically. We're now playing in a conference where we fly back and forth across the country every other week, and the college football playoff expansion has happened. How you get access to the college football playoff and how things are seeded and selected. Those, to me, are important unanswered questions. So, we remain in conversations with Notre Dame about the series. I think we're clear to each other that we're going to continue to evaluate what's best. And it's my job to evaluate what's best for our student athletes in our program. As we keep doing that, we're going to be excited about going back to South Bend next year. First of all, the Pac-12 was a 9-game conference, 9 conference games. The Big Ten is 9, so you've got 3 to schedule. ask yourself, you're already playing in the Big Ten, which means, and let's see what the USC schedule is this year, because they played Penn State last year and they played Michigan last year, and they went 0-3 against Penn State, Michigan, and Notre Dame, right? So they still haven't played Ohio State yet. So this year they have at Purdue, Michigan State, at Illinois. They've got Michigan in a return. And then the week after they play Michigan, they go to Notre Dame. Then they play at Nebraska. And they've got to play at Oregon. So they still haven't even played Ohio State yet. Ohio State might be the 2 play on their schedule. There's certain games that are... Penn State has 2 plays. We only play the team home and away once. Nebraska and Michigan are the 2 in the 5-year span. Everybody else is a 3 play. So Ohio State must be one of the 2 plays. But they're at Oregon, they're at Nebraska, they're at Notre Dame, they've got Michigan at home, and they're at Illinois. So this is what you are up against as an athletic director. It's a great series. But you have now built in all this travel. So let's just see. The other part, too, is how many they've got. 1, 2, 3. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They've got 7 home games because they got UCLA at home this year. And the issue is, how do I get to 10 wins? In other words, 10-2 puts you in the conversation for the college football playoff. You know, remember I was talking about that 2-win, that 2-loss threshold. Because when you're talking about a 2-loss threshold, you were talking about being in the opinion pool at that point. Okay? But at least you're in the opinion pool. And that's the part where you have to ask, you know, where you're at least you're if you have 3 losses, you're not getting there. Or, I shouldn't say that. If you have 3 losses, you're not a conference champion, that's an argument to keep you out. Alabama found that out. Not a conference champion, had 3 losses, outside looking in. South Carolina, 3 losses, good football team, no question, outside looking in. Next week, the Big Ten and SEC athletic directors, including Jen Cohen and Pat Kraft, will be meeting in... Where are they meeting next week? I know eventually that they're going to get to Dallas for the college football playoff meetings.
I thought you said New Orleans yesterday.
Yeah, it is New Orleans, I think. They're going to meet in New Orleans next week. What's today, the 14th? So it's going to be on Wednesday they're meeting. They've been talking about scheduling a game, SEC versus Big Ten. And they've been talking, okay, so again, let's get back to the USC thing. They got their Missouri State, Georgia Southern, Notre Dame are their 3 non-cons. Okay? So if you're going to start maybe down the road scheduling an SEC game, what does that do? Last year, USC played both LSU and Notre Dame. They beat LSU. That Kyron Hudson, who's now here with Penn State, had some big plays in that game. And then they played Notre Dame as well. Those are 2 of their 3 non-conference games last year. But if you have to schedule an SEC game, you got to knock somebody out. And you're trying to get to the college football playoff. Do you need to be playing Notre Dame and another SEC school? when you could play Missouri State and Georgia Southern? That's one. Number two, there'll be some talk about maybe forcing the hand of the college football playoff where it gets to 14 schools and the Big Ten and the SEC get 4 automatic bids apiece. Okay. Well, that would have benefited Alabama this year. They would have gotten one of them. The Big Ten already had 4 in, so there would be nobody else that would have qualified. And probably in a 14-school playoff, South Carolina would have made it as a 5th SEC team. But that's what I think they're going to attempt to force. When they start in 26, 4 automatic bids, Big Ten, 4 automatic bids, SEC. See if they can push this thing to a 14-team playoff, which would then make the automatic bids more palatable. And they may discuss, because of the automatic bid part, they may discuss doing the SEC Big Ten as a non-conference game. And if they do that, that takes this USC Notre Dame game with all of its great history and squeezes it to the side of the road. And the last game scheduled in the series is in California in 26. You're talking about the first meeting between these two schools was 1926. I mean, they've met 95 times. So this is, I mean, we saw Missouri-Kansas go away for a long time in basketball. We've seen other rivalries go by the boards because of, and sometimes you can kill a rivalry even in your own conference. Oklahoma and Nebraska were in the Big 12 together, but because they were in separate divisions, they stopped playing each other every year and rotated off each other's schedules in 2-year periods. I mean, you can even kill a rivalry in the same conference. Interesting. Interesting times, my friend. Interesting times.
I feel like there's a song called that.
Yeah. And Notre Dame's fared well, of late in this thing. I mean, they've fared they've won 6 of the last 7 in the series. So, hey, look, I just went by Nakatomi Plaza. Even in the movie Die Hard, Hans Gruber and Eddie are in the lobby when it starts. They're watching the Notre Dame USC game.
It's probably better than that Christmas party.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to the Nakatomi Corporation's history around the world, or whatever it was, of greed or something like that. He's just there to rob the place. All right, so you go by, it's Nakatomi Plaza. It's right near the Fox lot. So they were actually building that place. Like, you see the top floors under construction in the movie, right? That's because they actually were still under construction at the time. But yeah, I remember the Rose Bowl in 2008. My room looked right at it. I went, Nakatomi Plaza. I'm looking around just to see, is there any damage left? Oh, goodness gracious. All right.
Woke up at night to see if Hans Gruber fell off the roof.
Hans. Ah, yes. Always the cowboy. I'm sorry. Let me ask you something. I know it's Valentine's Day, but let me ask you something. Is that a Christmas movie?
I would say that's one of those things that came out in 1988, and I've never heard this argument until the last 3 years. So I would say no.
At the end, they do the weather outside's frightful.
Yeah.
It does take place around Christmas. It doesn't give you the warm, fuzzy feeling of maybe till the end.
Yeah.
We ought to do that debate that would have the people call a show when we get to December of this year and have them call in, and like whether it's a Christmas movie or not. Yeah. It's one of those, like, there's no right answer. It's just one of those fun, interesting questions that means absolutely nothing.
Right up there with, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh, that's a good one, too. I like that. I've never thought of a hot dog as a sandwich.
No, but it is meat between two pieces of bread, depending how you feel about a bun.
It's like putting bread up to the suit's ears. Oh. Even you laughed at that one.
Yeah, well, I've seen that Gordon Ramsay thing about 100,000 times in my life.
Just the visual of it. Is Shikalimi playing tonight?
No, Shikalimi's season's done. Most of the regular season's done for the most part around here. Districts start next week. Hack championship games are tonight.
Ends too early. Oh, well. That's me. Oh, well. Basketball tomorrow to Washington.